We really looked at it like research and development. We needed to have more knowledge around what's out there, where are things going, what do we need to get involved in, what do we need to avoid that
Mm.
might be trendy but not helpful. Something where we could network, we could be involved with other bankers that were technology forward, probably more so than we are,
Mm.
and just looking for a way to find out about the ecosystem.
Welcome to the Operate Podcast, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at company building from the perspective of the builders themselves. This is how we operate.
Welcome to the Operate Podcast. I'm Kerry Ransom. Today's episode is sponsored by BankTech Ventures, the first strategic investment fund designed for the community banking industry for community bank innovation and investment. BankTech identifies leading products and technologies for community banks, works with the founders and management teams of those companies to maximize their impact in community banks and ultimately their businesses. If you're a bank looking to innovate and invest in your future, or a founder who wants to work with banks, reach out to BankTech Ventures at banktechventures.com. Good morning, Heath. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kerry.
So let's start with, why did you get your bank involved in BankTech Ventures when we formed it a few years ago?
Yeah, we really looked at it like research and development. We know the industry's changing a lot. We needed to have more knowledge around what's out there, where are things going, what do we need to get involved in, what do we need to avoid that might be trendy but not helpful. And so we really knew we needed a group of people. We didn't have the internal resources ourselves to just figure that all out. And so we needed to get involved in something where we could network, we could be involved with other bankers that were technology forward, probably more so than we are. And just looking for a way to find out about the ecosystem, what's out there, what could help us, what are our opportunities, and really to look for a way to have it narrow down. The universe is so wide. So having some vetting going on so that we're looking at sort of top players in a particular area where we might have an interest, and some things that we have an interest that we didn't know we had an interest until we saw it was out there.
Sure. Well, let's go one level deeper. So what's a highlight as you look back over the first few years of that involvement and partnership? What would you consider to be a highlight for your bank in being part of this?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. One is through that networking and the other bankers I met, we got introduced to somebody who's now our chief innovation officer that we would have never met had we not done that. And I know not every bank's going to have a chief innovation officer, but once we saw the opportunities and the things we could do, we knew we needed somebody at our size. So that was a highlight just in networking, the people we got introduced to, being able to bring somebody on. I would say another thing, we've got several relationships, vendors that have come through that are portfolio companies of BankTech now that we got introduced to that we're using now internally at the bank. And one was a big part of our strategy to really get access to our data. And so we've had a number, and we've had some that we haven't used where we've picked another vendor, but we got a deep knowledge of what's out there, what's available, who we could use, and who could help us as we just got introduced, and through the webinars y'all have and introductions of the company and just getting a knowledge of that. So we've actually used companies, but we've also found other companies through networking with you guys to help us on our innovation technology journey.
That's super helpful. Well, final question. As you talk to your peers and try to help them understand how to explain it to their boards, or how boards should think about this, how would you describe the way they should think about this as a potential investment and value for their bank?
Yeah, so we talked to our board about it. We showed them all the innovation. Of course, your board members, a lot of times they're using multiple financial institutions. They're probably using a product somewhere else at another institution that they wish your bank could have. And so as we explained that we want to be able to get to a place where we can offer the things that are innovative that they can get from a larger bank, and we could do that in a way that's affordable to us. Explaining that there's stuff out there that you can use, I think is really important. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we thought about it as research and development expense. And so the dollar amount, and that's not all going to get drawn down. It's going to be a period of time, maybe up to 10 years. You divide that out by the number of years relative to your size. When you think about your size of investment, I mean, it's not a huge dollar spend. And that's if you think about it being an expense. And our experience is so far, we've had money returned to us. We think over time we're going to make money on this. But even if you think about it as a worst case and expense over a number of years, it really is not that much, especially if you compare it to going out and trying to hire somebody or working with consultants or those kind of things. And you're going to get more out of it. I think having somebody from your bank plugged into this ecosystem, attending the meetings, attending the webinars, hear about what's out there. And, once we did that, our board was very supportive of it. They understand we can't rely on, our previous strategy had been rely on the core vendors to bring you products, and you're not going to be able to keep up, I don't think, in that way going forward. And so once we explained that to them, it was really easy. They were 100% behind it. And they looked at it like, if we don't do something like this, how are we going to keep up? How are we going to know what's out there? And we're not trying to be on the leading edge. We just want to be just behind that and make sure we're keeping up with the pace of change out there.
Heath, thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Glad to do it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Operate Podcast. If you like this conversation, as a favor to me, you can rate us, review us, or subscribe, or tell your friends. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at Operate Podcast. Until next week, get out there and operate.